everybody, thank you so much for coming back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about John Wick. And I have a first time collaborator here on the channel, my buddy Terry Talks Movies. I'm really excited to have Terry in this video, and I'm looking forward to having him in more collabs as time goes on, because there's been quite a handful of moments that we've been on complete opposite ends of our viewpoints on movies. We have a pretty different view on movies, though I think we both have a huge appreciation and love for cinema as an overall. And I really love Terry's channel because he tends to touch on a lot of foreign films, a lot of older black and white films, or films from a certain era, and I really thoroughly enjoy the different taste that he has in films. You know, sometimes we're on the complete opposite side of things, and sometimes we've gotten into some debates on Facebook over movies, but what I thoroughly respect about Terry is his viewpoint on film and how passionate he is for a certain specific type of film versus maybe some of the other movies that I talk about on here that, you know, can arguably be called, you know, very bizarre. I'll leave it at that. But a big thanks to Terry for being in this video. I look forward to hearing his thoughts and for you guys hearing his thoughts. The link as usual to his channel will be down below in the description box, and let's go ahead and get into my thoughts on John Wick. So John Wick, what can I say about this movie that has not already been said? Stars Keanu Reeves and is arguably one of the best action films of the last decade. It's really crazy to see how this film just kind of revitalized Keanu Reeves in the mainstream, and since then he's gone on to become this superstar again. Now, Keanu Reeves was always huge for somebody like me because I grew up with The Matrix and the various other films that he made that made him Keanu Reeves. But, you know, he wasn't necessarily the Keanu Reeves that he is at this very moment in time, appearing in video games like Cyberpunk, as well as having a full franchise now with John Wick that's gone on to be far bigger than I think anybody could have anticipated. This movie for me is easily one of the best action films of the last decade, and part of that for me is the ability for this film to be so simplistic in concept while also kind of trickling in this bigger universe, but only giving you so much to keep you kind of, you know, interested, kind of keep your appetite there, while also telling a really interesting story that doesn't really rely on deep narrative or deep dialogue. The action in this film is absolutely phenomenal, and if you guys have seen any of the training that Keanu Reeves did to be in these movies, I mean, you can tell that he is in each and every single one of these sequences. I'm sure there are moments and scenes and shots where it's a stunt double, but if you guys know anything about these movies, you know that Keanu Reeves really wanted to be heavily invested in the stunts himself, so all of the gunplay and the combat is him, and you can tell when you have a movie like this that has all these close-ups and is shot in such a way that it really kind of gets to show the actor showing off their skills, it really just heightens the experience. And I think that Keanu Reeves, having done all the stunt work in this movie as well as the sequels, he's just gone on to show himself as an absolutely incredibly committed actor who has way more talent beyond just being an actor, you know. So yeah, thoroughly enjoy the character of John Wick. What I really enjoy about his character in this movie is that after we've learned a little bit about his backstory, which is the fact that he was in some sort of assassin ring, it's very kind of subtle, the hinting of kind of what his past was, but he was a part of some sort of, you know, illegal assassin ring, some sort of underground ring of things going on. He ends up wanting to get out because of the fact that he wants to be with this woman that he's fallen in love with, and after he does get out, she ends up getting sick and ends up passing away. Before having passed away, she sets up this thing where he was going to have a dog delivered to him after she did pass away, if she did pass away. So since she does pass away, one day he gets a knock on the door or a ring on the doorbell, I can't remember what it is. A dog is delivered to him with a note that is from her saying that the dog is kind of there to be this window into hope for him again, this thing for him to love, this thing that's going to love him so that he's not alone and that he's not kind of lost in his own thoughts. Because again, what I love about this movie is it's super subtle with the way it tells its story, the way that it kind of builds its characters, and over the course of the film you understand more and more that John Wick is this character who is very much you know, a quiet guy. He's kind of very much to himself, and here he was in love with this woman and was willing to give up this life that he was part of just to be with her, and then she ends up passing away. So now he has this dog that's the last gift from the love of his life, and this dog that's kind of a symbol of her being gone. And that's when John Wick ends up getting caught up in some trouble with like the local mafia. I don't exactly know what their name is in this movie, but they end up beating the shit out of John Wick and killing his dog. This sets him off on a rampage. That is essentially what this movie is about. An ex-assassin gets his dog killed. There's kind of a gift from his wife. His wife is dead, and he just goes on an all-out rampage the rest of the movie, completely killing anybody who was involved in this mafia group, anybody who was involved in this situation, all the way till he gets to the guy who killed his dog. And man, this is a movie that is just action-packed. Every single second of this movie, once things start to pick up, is absolutely engaging. Everything about the way that this film was shot, the way that it was done on a stunt level, everything about the lighting, the direction of this film is just top-notch for me. This is just a top-notch action film, and I just thoroughly enjoy it. I never got bored watching it, not one time. And what I really love about the character of John Wick is that as the movie progresses, you have these characters learning that John Wick is coming for them, or that this one specific person in the mafia had actually, attacked John Wick and killed his dog. And everybody's reaction is always like, oh my God, out of everybody that you could have done this to, you did this to John Wick. And the guy who did it to him has no idea who John Wick is, so he doesn't really know the severity of what he's kind of done. Everybody else is like, you're an idiot. You've doomed us all. You've killed us all. So for the audience, I love that we all know just through other people's dialogue how serious this John Wick guy is, even before he starts kicking ass. And once he starts kicking ass, it just gets crazy. Now that I've rambled my thoughts off just a little bit, let's go ahead and hear what Terry had to say about this one.
Hey Anthony, thanks for inviting me on your channel to talk about the 2014 movie John Wick, starring Keanu Reeves. And I came to this one late because basically I didn't see it in the theaters when it came out. Remember when people used to go to the theater? And I saw it on DVD back in the day, and I picked up a copy of it in Blu-ray for my own collection. And yeah, it's one of those interesting films, and this has only happened in the last 10 years, where stunt performers are starting to do first unit action movies. Previously they were directors on second units, but in this case the director of this one, Chad Stahelski, has decided to make a film and have it made from the viewpoint of a stunt coordinator and a stunt performer. He was actually the stuntman who doubled for Brandon Lee back when Brandon Lee made The Crow in 1994 and unfortunately died. So yeah, John Wick, I like the way it's structured. It really works well because right up front we see the best of the man. We see him as a husband, we see him as a pet owner, and we find out about his best self before we find out about his worst self. And of course, that's thanks to Alfie Allen's character, Joseph, who is the son of one of the Russian mafia guys in New York, played by Michael Nyqvist, who was in the original trilogy of The Girl and the Dragon Tattoo, which was made in Scandinavia about 15 years ago. It works incredibly well, and the reason it works is it's something new we hadn't seen in cinema before. Stunts done right and action done right. Every time you see him using a gun, there are exactly the right number of bullets in it. Every time you see somebody take a blow, there's damage. It's not one of those things where people get punched 3 or 4 times and then get up, shake their head and just keep going. It's got a realism to it and a groundedness to it that works incredibly well. Plus you're starting to get a little bit of the John Wick universe. You get the Continental, the hotel, which is a hitman hotel where assassins and hitmen can be safe while they're in New York City. Run of course by Winston, played by Ian McShane, and doing a really nice job of it. The front desk man is Karen, played by Lance Reddick, whose voice I know mostly from playing Destiny 2, where he plays Zavala, but he's really good in the role too. And of course in the subsequent films, particularly the third one, John Wick 3 Parabellum, he really does get some agency in the movie. So it works well because you find the best of the man, and then you find out that he is the scariest hitman in the world. And he's pissed off because Alfie Allen's Joseph has killed his dog and beaten him up and stolen his muscle car. The dog, of course, is the most important one. We never actually find out what happens to the muscle car, in the first movie at least. And it works. And also the supporting cast is fantastic as well. We've got Willem Dafoe playing Marcus, his friend who is another assassin. We've got John Leguizamo playing Aurelio, who is the car guy that John Wick knows. He runs a chop shop in near New York City, and he's really good in it too. He gets a couple of really nice character beats in there as well. Second movie gives you more of him, and of course we all want more of him because these guys are at the top of their game and are really having fun with this movie. Wasn't a particularly big budget movie. People didn't know whether it was going to work or not, but It really is done right. The set piece fights are fantastic in the Red Circle nightclub. Is particularly good. I think the deaths towards the end are a little low key compared to what happens before. Particularly the fight and the death with Vigo. It doesn't quite play well because Vigo is never really set up as a fist fighter, even though he is Russian Mafia and at the top of the Russian Mafia. And so the fist fight between him and John Wick at the end doesn't quite play as well as a lot of the previous ones. It's not a boss fight in any real way. Sorry, it's a few flies around here. But for the most part, the movie works really well. And setting up that universe, which is a kind of lawless universe, we see a cop investigating at the start of the movie when there's some mayhem at John Wick's house. And we find out, of course, that the cops are in on this enormous crime world that John Wick lives in. And that works really well. It shows you that the cops aren't going to show up in the middle of a fight and kind of stop things, and that they're on the take and they're part of this enormous criminal world of which John Wick is a part. We see more of that, of course, in the subsequent movies. But as the first in a series, it sets things up really well. It tells us who this character is at his best moments and who he is at his worst moments. And I'm going to go back now and watch Sec 2 and 3, just so I can continue the story and stay with these wonderful characters a little bit longer. Also, there's props to Adrienne Palicki playing one of the other assassins. She gets some nice chops, and of course it gives a little bit of female agency in the movie, and she's also there to show, in the later parts of her role, the power of the Continental, the hotel, in enforcing its rules, and that kind of works really well for me. So again, Anthony, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk about John Wick on your channel. And if everybody can please stay safe, wear a mask, follow the science, take care of yourselves, and hopefully we can talk again. I'll see you next time.
A big thanks to Terry for being here in this video. Loved hearing your thoughts on this movie, man, and just loved having you in this collab. I look forward to having you in more reviews as time goes on. It was really nice when I asked you to do this review that you were like, yep, I had the Blu-ray, let's go ahead and do this. So a big thanks to you for being willing to just hop into this review. I really look forward to doing more collabs like this. And as usual, guys, you can find the link to Terry's channel down below in the description box. Go give him some love, and let's go ahead and get into my final thoughts on John Wick. Yeah, this is a movie that I think on just almost every single level just works for me. This is a movie that is action-packed, that has great stunt choreography, and is shot incredibly well. The director of this film, Chad Stahelski, I believe is how his name is pronounced. Yeah, I think he just directed this film incredibly well. Everything about the humor that's kind of laced into the film, the characters, the way that certain things are kind of framed, the way that these characters are built upon without there being this heavy amount of dialogue, and the way that you are able to kind of have this intrigue of this big assassin ring, this world that's kind of unfolding as you're watching the movie. You kind of get into learn small little drizzling, small little sprinkles of what this whole world that John Wick is involved in is all about. But the movie doesn't just downright give you all of it right out of the gate. It really focuses on this story of revenge from this guy, but it gives you enough to be intrigued for there to be more story. And I think that the sequels continue to do that, with the third film being the one that I think touches on that the most. I also want to give a lot of praise to Jonathan Sella, who is the cinematographer of this film. I've said it a couple times in this review, but the way that this film is shot, the way that this action is shot is top notch. Not only is the stunt choreography in the film itself, from combat level to gunplay, all top notch as well, but it's all kind of done with the cinematography in mind, and that's usually the case. But in a lot of action movies, you'll see a lot of wide shots, and there are some wide shots in this film, but it's the really up close and personal moments with John Wick and these action moments, and the way that the camera moves with his body moving. You can just tell that they really did a good job of making sure that the choreography of the action really did sync up with the choreography of the cinematography, and I think it all blends together to make some of the most iconic action sequences of the last decade. The main villain of this film, outside of the guy who actually does kill John Wick's dog, is played by Michael Nyqvist, and he actually passed away after this film came out, a few years after. I can't remember how long ago it was at this point, but he did pass away, I believe, from lung cancer, which is a big shame. I love seeing that guy in movies from time to time. He was a really good actor, and in this movie he does a great job, not only playing this villain character, but also being this guy who's kind of afraid of John Wick, as well as kind of, you know, throwing in this comedy from time to time. I really thoroughly enjoy enjoy him as an actor, and it is a shame that he's passed away, so I wanted to mention that. So yeah, guys, John Wick, I don't have a whole lot more to say that hasn't already been said about this movie. It's one of the best action films of the last 10 years, and I really thank Terry for being here in this video. Even for the differences of opinions we had of certain things, I really thoroughly enjoy being able to hear your thoughts on this movie and other movies in general. And for you guys who are into foreign film, to black and white films, to films of a certain era, go check out Terry Talks Movies down below in the description box. I leave the link down there. He's just got great content over there. He does these great 24-hour marathons where he watches a shit ton of movies and talks about them throughout the course of the day, and he films it. He's got great, very different content over there for a specific kind of movie fan, and I love having him around on my YouTube channel, and I look forward to having him in more collabs. So a big thanks to Terry for being here in this video. Hit that like button down below if you guys enjoyed this video, and comment your thoughts. Which is your favorite John Wick movie? What is your favorite moment in this movie? I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.